We're live.
Don't be scared. I just want to play a game with you.
The house is haunted by the echo of your last goodbye. The house is haunted by the echo of your last goodbye. The house is haunted by memories that refuse to die. I can't get away from a vision that brings intimate glimpses of intimate things. A voice in my heart like a tart singer sings. I wonder who's kissing her now. The house is haunted by the echo of your favorite song. The place is cluttered up with roses that have lived too long, much too long. The ceiling is white, but the shadows are black. A ghost in my heart says she'll never come back. The house is haunted by the echo of your last goodbye. The house is haunted by the echo of your last goodbye. The house is haunted by the echo of your last goodbye. The house is haunted by memories that refuse to die. I can't get away from a vision that brings intimate glimpses of intimate things. A voice in my heart like a tart singer sings. I wonder who's kissing her now. The house is haunted by the echo of your favorite song. The place is cluttered up with roses that have lived too long, much too long.
Good evening and welcome to the Haunt Hour with your host Dan Doble, Susie Fleesick, and Troy Crivello. Join us tonight as we talk about all things haunting and Halloween during the Haunt Hour.
Welcome, everybody.
That's a cool screen.
Trying to get that one in there. There we go. All right. Welcome, everybody, to another episode of the Haunt Hour. My name is Dan. I'm here with Troy and Susie and our special guest today, Jan Knuth, correct? Did I say that right?
Knuth, yeah.
Awesome. So tonight we are on schedule for once, I think, almost. We only had a couple snafus tonight, but anyway, we're here to talk about all things Halloween and haunted house. And first off, when we do these shows, we always talk about like current events and anything that's going on in the industry right now. I've been so busy. I missed my podcast yesterday, so I don't have any news, but does anybody else have any fun Halloween or haunted house news? Big or small, doesn't matter to me. Anybody have anything out there? Troy, Susie, Jan, if you got something?
Well, I will. We'll get the somber stuff out of the way so we can get on with happiness and stuff. We did have a unfortunate. Well, I would say it was a disaster. Our good friend Kit Espadada in Providence, Rhode Island. A neighbor's back somewhere in the backyard of the neighbor's house, it caught on fire, and the wind whipped it into her yard and destroyed all of her Halloween props in a shed that is in the backyard, and destroyed much of the back of the house and the backyard. And so they have been displaced, and they'll be in a motel or a hotel for a couple of months. And unfortunately, with all of the Halloween stuff gone, and it's a pretty big deal out there for her. Her haunt is a big deal in that town. That it will be obviously not going on this year. There is a GoFundMe that is up, and it is on the Haunt Collective Facebook page right now. And you can go on there and donate if you choose to. But I think it kind of goes without saying that for all of us, Halloween is not just some stuff in totes and things like that. It's an identity, and especially for Kit. Most haunters and most home haunters are introverts. Most of us were outcasts and things like that throughout our years and of living. And Halloween has been an outlet for a lot of us, and it's been a fantastic, and especially for her, it's been a creative juggernaut for her. She makes awesome puppets like Alf and things from Labyrinth and all kinds of stuff. And then she also does lots of Halloween stuff. So it's a very sad day for her. And for her community, I guess four of the buildings, because in Rhode Island, the houses are very close together, and especially in that neighborhood. So several families were affected by it. So,
she's okay though, health wise.
Yes. Everybody was out. All the animals are out.
Good.
So no injuries to anybody. And it is just stuff, but the Halloween stuff is not just stuff.
Well, you posted some pictures, and it just looks completely devastating from what you posted. And I just can't even imagine.
Her house had those like the shake siding where it's the
shaker shingles. Yeah.
And those things, I mean, it was she's out there in Providence, so it gets battered by the sea out there, and by that sea air, and so those things are pretty brittle and stuff. So but it looks like the house is structurally okay, but it'll be quite a while before she's back at home. I know that so far the GoFundMe has done really well, and we appreciate everybody that has given.
We'll also put that link in the description below here after the show too. So check the show notes for that if you guys want to donate that way. It's a way to find her there too. So thank you for that somber news.
Yep.
But we're all pulling for you, Kit.
Get
back through this.
She will be back.
Your safety is good, and it's not early in the season, but the season's not completely a complete loss.
Well, I will actually be visiting that area with a bunch of haunters in October.
Mm-hmm.
We're going to go visit a bunch of haunts up there, and one of the highlights was going to be to see her haunt.
Oh, wow.
But she is going to go with us. And as of right now, she doesn't know this yet, but she will not be paying for any of the haunted houses that we go to.
That's
She will
awesome.
be hanging out with us the entire weekend, so we're going to take care of her throughout that whole weekend. But she was kind of going to be one of our hosts, and show us around and stuff like that, and she still will, but so we're gonna take care of her then too. So
that's tough. Any other news? Does anybody else have anything out there?
No, I wish I had something fun and lighthearted to talk about after that, but I have nothing.
When is Texas Haunters Convention? Let's talk about that.
Middle of July.
Oh, okay. It's coming up. It's
the 17th and 18th of July in Mesquite, just outside of Dallas. I'll be there. So
I'll be there.
I was just going to say, Jan, you're going to go to that. I forgot.
Nice. I'm going to be there.
Oh, good. Yeah. Yep. I'm going down there for the whole weekend, and it's definitely an up and coming show. They do a lot of they have a lot of Texas home hunters out there, a lot of Texas pro hunters, some really good vendors, some really good classes. I kind of feel like with each convention, there's teachers that don't go to other conventions. So sometimes with going to like Texas or Ohio or West Coast or things like that, you're going to get education that isn't out there for you to get anywhere else. So, if you were to go to it, you're probably going to get some specialized stuff that you haven't heard before. Definitely different ways to do things as
that show's based more on not just haunted houses. It's Halloween enthusiasts.
Yes.
So you're going to get the craft people. You're going to get the people, that are diehard haunted house prop vendors, costumers, and you're going to get those creatives that do this stuff for the masses. The Halloween decor and stuff like that. So I think it's going to be a great show. I can't wait to see what's all happens with that. So So I think we tried to turn that one around a little bit. I think that
yes.
I don't know.
So we're gonna jump right into this. We're gonna talk about the women in haunting, and tonight Jan came on. She has a book, I believe. She's a haunted house owner. Am I correct by saying that, Jan? Can you give me just a little elevator pitch of who you are and what you represent in this haunted house industry?
Well, as you said, my name's Jan Knuth. I was a home haunter for 7 years. And then in 2014, I opened Gray House Haunt, which is a commercial haunt. I live in the middle of rural Nebraska. So I'm 3 hours east of Omaha. So you have never heard of where I am. So we don't have a big population, but we've grown every year 12 to 20%, which is actually astronomical growth. So I could refer to us as a little haunt that could. I rely heavily on theatrics. I like sets and actors, in that order. But I did a lot of home haunting, and it just got too big. And my husband said, "Get off my lawn." And so I said, "Okay, fine. I'm going to go buy a place." And so he did. I actually bought a house, and it's just a large old farmhouse on the very edge of town. It's nice and creepy, and it has a large yard. So we have that built up too. It's about 7,000 square feet. I have a good time. I love it.
That's awesome. So not only you're a haunted house owner, you also are a writer. You have a book coming out as well. Is that correct? Am I representing it?
I do have a book coming out. I wouldn't call myself a writer. I can talk, and my friend Candy Cross can write. And so we did this together. I wasn't able to open last year. Not so much because of mandates and things like that, but because of the physical space that I work in. My rooms aren't expandable. I can't change an 8x10 room in a house. It is an 8x10 room. And so it just didn't make any sense to open. I thought it was too risky. It turned out to be exactly the right decision. But I did need something to do. And so my husband said, "Why don't you and Candy write a book about the haunt industry. And it's called Not Afraid to Play, Women of the Haunt Industry. And it is it's about women in the haunt industry, but not solely about women, because obviously you know, it's just like you can't have a book just about men in haunting because there are women. But it is I think of 11 people, 8 of them were women that we interviewed. And it just gives some insights into experiences that women have that maybe men don't. And it also has some stuff that's just general information about haunting. Everyone I talked to, except one person, are all commercial haunters. And so they have interesting stories and experiences, whether they're an actor or an owner.
I love the cover art. Love the cover art.
Yes.
You know, when I saw that, I actually cried.
Yeah,
I really did.
I would. Who's your artist?
Exactly what I wanted.
Yeah.
It's actually a designer out of New York.
Mm-hmm.
It's a company. And I told them I want a beautiful, powerful woman, but no boobies. Because,
no boobies.
Because it's not about the boobies.
It's not.
You know,
it's not.
about being powerful,
mm-hmm.
you know, and yet you can be very beautiful too. And they just nailed it. It's gorgeous.
It's beautiful. I love it.
Well, I love it.
Yeah,
the whole thing about it. So is this where do people find this book? Like,
well, you know, we don't even have pre-sale out yet. Sorry, there's bugs attacking me. We don't even have pre-sale out yet. It'll be mid-June, but there will be an Amazon link.
Awesome.
That I would certainly share with you guys.
Yes, and when that time comes, we'll also add that in the link to the trip.
Absolutely.
So
yeah, that'd be great. That'd be great.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it was quite a labor of love. It took a little longer than we wanted it to. There was some tragedies in my life, and so I had to kind of put the pen down for a little bit, but picked it back up and got it finished. It went to the designer today. So
nice.
Awesome.
It will be going to the publisher in about a week.
So this book that you've written, is this for all sorts of haunters? I mean, is this focused towards the women of the industry? Is this focused towards, you know, home haunters, pro haunters, actors? Is there a genre that
you know, pretty much anybody. You know, I think it's pretty much anybody. The different people we interviewed are owners, actors. There's home haunters. Most of us started as home haunters. You know, so kind of a mix there. And then we have some, you know, like show directors and that type of thing. So it kind of hits a little bit in each major area. So it's management, owner, actors.
Nice.
But I tried to get a good representation, or I felt a good representation, because it's largely about women's experiences, that can still be reflective of all of us.
Mm-hmm.
And some of the owners that aren't women might find it interesting to see what some of their actresses or their management personnel are coming up against as females.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I remember a story. This was a few months ago. It was actually as the book was kind of coming into its own, or the idea was, I was talking about, excuse me, a young woman that had been harassed at a haunt, and she was an actress. And for several nights, she didn't understand why all the guys were giggling at her. And what had happened was the wardrobe had put her in a very short skirt on top of a grate. And so the guys were taking turns standing under the grate and looking up her skirt. And I remember when I read the story, it was on Facebook. Of course, she was humiliated. But I thought, I wouldn't have done that because I've worn a skirt. You know, Susie wouldn't do that because she's wearing a skirt.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's just things like that, no matter if you're male or female, if you are the management or the owner, we need to be aware of these things. And number one, those boys should have been smacked.
Mhm.
Yes.
Number two, nobody should have put her on a grate in a short skirt anyway.
Right.
So, it's not all about that. Some of it's the fun stuff too.
Yeah.
But it's just that different perspective that a female might have that might not occur to other people.
When you bring that up, it's funny because today, one of my best haunt, she's an actor, she's a makeup artist, she's one of my best people. She had her first child in December, and today was the first day that she was actually able to come to the haunt and do some things, and we got nothing done because she kept having to breastfeed. So it's like, it was fine. She needed that. She needed to get out of the house, and I needed to see her because we hadn't seen each other in a while. And those are just some challenges that men wouldn't face in that kind of industry, well, in any industry. But yeah, like she brought her little boy in, and he's adorable. And I was like, welcome to the haunt, buddy. This is going to be your second home, And, but yeah, like we sat there and she was like, oh gosh, I have to feed him again. And I know what that's like. I have 3 and I nursed all of mine. But yeah, it's just different. Like, so I'm thinking about this year and I'm thinking like, okay, how's this going to work? Are we going to like give her breaks to like nurse, or is he going to come? And yeah, there's just like a lot of different challenges that the women face in the haunt industry that we overcome. I'm sure there's tons of stories of women bringing their baby to the haunt and acting and taking a break and going and nursing or pumping or whatever they need to do. So, but yeah, it's, we can do it.
And I think you're right. We just have to overcome those things.
Yeah.
But it helps if more in the industry are aware of these types of issues, whether it's some form of harassment or it's, a breastfeeding mother, and how is she, does she have privacy, and is she allotted time?
And to top on that, I mean, look at owners that are women. I mean, that's impressive. All right. When we were at HauntCon, was it 2 years ago, Troy? This January, but the January before, they had a panel of women in haunting, and they were all prominent owners of large attractions, and it was great. They had a panel. They filled the room. People were talking about it. I mean, it's an accomplishment, and it's not easy to be a woman in the haunt industry because of that. I can't explain it because I'm a guy. But I know it's there, you know, and I love the fact that there's more people that are coming out and talking about it and saying, hey, look at me, look what I can do. I'm just as good as you. Why not? Well, so I think this is awesome. And when Susie was telling me about it, I'm like, oh my God, she has a book. I'm totally buying that.
Yeah. Right.
Awesome,
Yeah.
So
I think that's one thing that this industry is missing. I know there's lots of women who, will talk on Facebook, and, we have plenty of women home haunters and actresses and people who build, and, we have some that will teach, acting at haunts and things like that and consult. But I definitely feel like there's a lack of outward push about, especially women owners and, women, that are higher up in the industry. It almost seems like there's maybe a little bit of, of intimidation that there are plenty of male haunt owners, and there are plenty of males out there who do all this stuff that, we're more boisterous and stuff like that. And, we love to talk, but
who you?
Right. Me. Right. But, I mean, just as my own personal, experience with this is that, my wife has always felt like she's Troy's wife. And so when she had the opportunity to go to Transworld this year, I was like, no, you're going and I'm not. And you're going to go and you're going to have fun and you're going to be Ashley and you're going to meet all these people and you're going to find out that there is this community out there that wants to be friends with you. And she's like, what? What? And she had a blast and everybody loved her. And they were like, oh, you're Ashley, and it was not Troy's wife. There were several that came out to her and said, "Oh, you're Troy's wife," and then they apologized quickly, saying, "We're sorry, you're Troy's wife." But, so I feel that, but I'm also starting to notice a lot of women vendors as well. you know, of, you know, own, you know, they're coming out a lot more, and it's, you know, to me, there's no difference. I don't care if you're a woman or a guy. If you got great products or you got a great haunt, I don't care. It doesn't change anything for me. It doesn't make it better or worse. And I think that really needs to be pushed, that we're all haunters, you know, and that, you know, but everybody needs to, you know, be aware of differences too, you know?
Yeah.
Sure. Completely. You know, it's not about, for me, it's not about, you know, anti-man.
Right.
You know, it's what we all strive for is just to be treated equally.
Yeah.
You know, there is a little bit of discrimination. I don't think there's any more discrimination in our industry than in any other.
Probably, yeah.
You know, I think what I run up against in the haunt industry is the same as anywhere else, maybe even a little less. But now that might be because I don't really associate with people that are going to discriminate against me.
Right.
You just fire them.
You know, I'm just going to move on. I'll go talk to Dan and Troy and Susie and, you know, hang out with them a little bit.
Yeah.
But I think as long as I do think there are more female owners than people realize.
Definitely.
And I do think, you know, there aren't a lot like me. I own my haunt. My husband does nothing for the haunt.
Mm-hmm.
He doesn't want to.
Yeah.
And that's fine. It's my thing. I want to. We're a little bit of a mutt and Jeff. He looks like a buttoned up Republican, and I sit in rooms like this, you know. But that's okay. You know, we all have our thing.
That's right.
But I know what you mean about Ashley, and you know, well, oh, you're Mrs. Troy. You know, my husband had a write-up in a regional newspaper several years ago. And it was all about how fabulous he was and what a wonderful business he had and this and that. And the very last line of the article said, and his wife's name is Jan.
Oh.
That's
it.
And so when I started Grey House Haunt, the same regional newspaper said they wanted to interview me and put me in the autumn issue and, you know, all this cool stuff. I said, that's great. So the gal and I were talking, and I said, hey, do me a favor. At the end of the article, just put her husband's name is Steve.
Yeah.
And she did it.
Awesome.
That's awesome. That's great. Oh my gosh.
So great. Let's just transition a little here. You Grey House Haunts. What's the backstory of Grey House Haunts? I mean, how did you come up with the name? How long has it been around?
Well, a lot of people think Grey House Haunts has something to do with Grey's Anatomy. It does not. Fine show, but that's not it. My home haunt started at my home, and it's a large gray colonial. And so it's kind of an homage to where I started, was the big gray house. And so when I bought this old dilapidated house, we had to paint it because it was almost bare wood. And so he's scrolling through looking.
I'm trying to find it. He went to me so fast.
He did this to me,
There
Jane, don't worry.
There it is. So I painted it dark gray and black trim and
that is very
you know,
creepy.
it's just a wonderful old farmhouse that the town kind of grew up around. But you know, we're still on gravel roads and all that kind of stuff. We added stairwells to it, so there's 2 exits from every floor. I even did a funhouse stairwell where it has about a 2-degree tilt.
Oh, that's
Wow.
And the carpenter, I had an actual carpenter for that because that's, you know, that's creepy. But he thought I was insane. But I love it. It's a great party. So,
yeah, they don't realize
we
when they
started-
call us insane that's an actual compliment, you know?
Yeah, it doesn't bother me a bit.
I'm
Not a bit.
It's like, thank you.
So the house itself, how long has it been a professional haunt or gray house haunts at that location? Has it been a few years or?
We opened in 2014.
Okay, well, it's been a while then.
Yeah. So, we kind of know. I'm at that stage where you kind of know the ins and outs. There's always something to learn.
Mm-hmm.
But as far as my property, I know it like the back of my hand. We're pretty much landlocked, so I can't really get bigger. But that's okay too. I only have so much population to play with. So.
This is true. So when was the first time that you realized you loved Halloween and you wanted to display your art in October?
The first time I knew I loved Halloween, my mom was one of those awesome moms that would, dress up and she'd carry the broom around and she'd take us trick-or-treating. And the first time I really realized that I just adored Halloween was I actually was in a play for school, and we got to wear this outlandish makeup and these crazy costumes. And I suddenly understood that I didn't have to be that actually somewhat introverted person. I wouldn't call myself shy. I'm definitely an introvert. But I could be someone else.
Mm-hmm.
And so the home haunt started in 2007, I believe it was. And that actually started because I moved into town and my dogs hated people. And so I sat out on the front lawn with a couple of people and scared the crap out of trick-or-treaters. And it just took off from there. But I just so thoroughly enjoyed that I could not wait for the next Halloween to do it again. It got so big, though, like I said, I had to get off the lawn. So I knew at that point that I could probably go commercial. It was a matter of if I could get enough customers.
And how was that first year? Were you worried at all?
Oh, I was scared to death. I was scared to death because not only might you fail, you're going to fail really big.
Yep.
It was in the newspaper. It was on the radio. It was on Facebook.
Mm-hmm.
And you failed.
Yep.
But I didn't.
That's awesome.
We did only 3 nights because I was really just testing the water. And now to put this in context, I live in a town of 5,500 people. And in 3 nights, with only a couple weeks warning, I had 1,500 people come.
That's amazing.
And so, when I no longer compare myself to other haunts. And here's why. It's because if you run the numbers, I'm doing as much in my population and my geography as some of the biggest haunts because I don't have the people to pull from. And so I'm pulling on average 10 to 15% of the population in my community.
Wow.
That's really good.
So when you look at it, make it apples and apples. Don't just compare yourself negatively all the time.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
It's a good show. It's a good show. We're small, but we're good.
I remember when I owned a haunted house. The first year, it was a haunt that was around for 1 year, and they had some problems. It was on the UW Fox Valley campus, and they were having issues. And they needed a outside company to run the show so that it would be a third party. It was run by the theater department on UW Fox, but they didn't. Just long story short, they had to find a third-party company, a production company, to run the show so that they could offset that to somebody else. Well, so I jump. Here comes Dan. And come in and I don't know much about the first year because it's the first year. You never know what's going to happen and how well they marketed it and what the numbers really were. So we come into this show, my wife and I, and we're ready to go. We market the hell out of it. It's right on the freeway. You know, it's a pretty dense population. And the first night we opened, you know, we're going to do every weekend in October. First night, we had 13 people.
Stop it.
Yes.
Wow.
Now,
Stop
it was
it.
so bad. And Angie and I were like, oh my God.
I want to cry.
What did we get ourselves into? You know, we spent marketing money. We did everything, you know, and it's like, oh my God, what did we do? After that, it just jumped way up high.
Yeah.
So it was
Oh.
that first night was so, and mind you, this haunted house is an hour and 45 minutes from our house. So I'm commuting an hour and 45 back and forth for this attraction that is my first show that I've ever owned. And I'm like, oh my God, what am I doing? The 2-hour ride home felt like an eternity. That first night, but after that, it was fine. After that, it picked up tremendously. We had, you know, we finished out the year with bigger numbers than what was projected for the first year. So I was fine with it. But it was that first night. We have like 20 actors inside this, you know, 6,000, 7,000 square foot building warehouse. And we're just sitting there twiddling our thumbs. Watching the go-go's go around and the music go around outside. And me and the other guys are sitting there going, oh my gosh, what are we doing here? What did I say? My wife is like Jan's husband. She's not a Halloween person. She doesn't want to have anything to do with it. I did rope her into the logistics part of it, like the money portion of it. So she was in the cashier. She was our cashier. She's fantastic with money. So I let her do that. Actually, I didn't let her. I told her, please do that for me. And she did, of course. But yeah, as far as the haunted house, she's not a haunted house person. But it was one of those things where I was like, oh my gosh, when this night ends, and it couldn't end soon enough, I'm going to have to hear it the whole way home about what a poor decision this was. What did I get myself into? What did you do? But it worked out for the best. So it worked out for the best.
I've actually had nights like that. Our second year, our opening night was worse than our first year. And I was like, what is happening? Like, you know, and then I'm one of those people that's always like, this is a sign that I'm not meant to do this. And my husband's like, oh my God, will you freaking stop with the signs? So because I'm just always like, this means that we're not supposed to be doing this. Shut it down, you know? And, but 13's pretty bad. So yeah, but
yeah, it was the biggest night. And I've had people that have told me that you can project like what your season's going to be like off of your first night attendance.
No.
Yeah. Well,
I don't believe that at all.
Well, I guess it depends on when your first night is.
Right.
Like, are you mid-September? Or are you early October? Like, I think it just depends on that.
Yeah. I mean, it's word of mouth. I mean, if you have a great show, and word of mouth does go a long way. And at the beginning of our season, it was because we had an amazing show. We had some amazing artists that came in that built these sets. I mean, these guys are amazing, you know, and unfortunately, not unfortunately, but fortunately, it did. That word of mouth traveled, and people were coming because they heard this is a great show, you know. So
I feel that out here, it really takes almost till the second week of October to really get attendance going, because normals just forget about it, because, you know, and I know on the East Coast and in the Midwest, you know, there's a lot more haunting that goes on throughout the year. I know, like in Ohio, they just did 2 big halfway to Halloween events at 2 of the biggest haunts in that area, you know. So, and I know like Dark Hour has done haunts throughout the year, and, you know, so there's different, it's a little more top of mind in certain areas, but like on the West Coast, it's October, maybe a tiny bit in September, depending on how many weekends are in October. And then that's it. It is over. So there's a few there's like one haunt in Portland that'll do a Christmas show, one in Washington, 1 or 2 in Washington. So it's not a top of mind thing. So it really takes that second week. So if you're basing anything on that first even weekend, you're not doing yourself any justice. You've got to wait till that second weekend to really see what you're going to do, you know? Yeah.
Yeah, that's even true here in Nebraska. And you know, we're very much, you know, we have the full 4 seasons. There's no mild to any of our seasons. And that first weekend, I usually open like October 10th, like the second weekend in October,
Oh, okay.
because no one is paying any attention.
Right.
I would
Right.
just be spinning my wheels and paying actors, and you know, and of course that's my biggest budgetary problem. You know, is getting everybody paid. So I can't have those super light nights.
Yeah.
You know, occasionally, yeah, my first night's always the least attended. And you know, I'm constantly asking the cashiers, where are we at? Where are we at? Because I know the number I need.
Me too.
Every night to clear bank.
Mhm.
And as soon as we hit that, it's like I can breathe.
Mhm.
And you know, now I can just have fun because I know everybody's getting paid because they're getting paid no matter what.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, am I buying, I don't want to say the L word, but lumber next year? You know, the L word, because prices are very high right now.
Yes.
But you know, then you can kind of relax and just enjoy it. But yeah, you got to hit those numbers when you're commercial hunt.
Do you think that aspect of haunting has changed your view on haunting from being a home hunter to doing a pro, of that, you know, worrying about the numbers and the money? Has that changed your creativity and your passion for it? Because now it's is it a business first? Is it decorating first? You know, that type of thing, where for me, I just decorate. If I don't, you know, I don't care. The money just, you know, my wife gets mad and the money just keeps going, you know, and I don't care. I don't even write it down, you know.
It just goes like
money just flies away.
Wow.
It's like,
you know, right. But for me, I don't care because I don't have a budget. I don't need to worry about what's coming back in, because nothing's coming back in. Minus,
that's right.
You know,
it has changed for me. You know, when I was doing a home hunt, okay, I can be a little bit of a demanding person. And so even in the home hunt, I wanted it done well. You know, if I'm going to bother, I'm doing it well. And that's how I also knew that I would do a pretty good job at commercial hunting. And has it changed me? Yes, I think of course it has. Because it's not just the money I have to worry about. You know, it's fire marshal, you know, insurance and all of those things, because I don't want to be the haunt that changed the laws.
Right.
You know, you don't want to be that person.
Nope.
And you know, and I don't want that on my conscience that someone got maimed or, God forbid, killed. But yeah, it's, you know, I always say if I could build sets and just work down there spring through fall, and then just like have a few people like you guys could just come visit and tell me how awesome I am.
That's all you need.
That's all I would really need.
Your ego's stroked a little bit.
Just admire it. Yeah, admire what I've done and go, oh my God, Jan, that's amazing. And I'd be like, thank you. And then I just go home.
Yeah.
I'd be pretty happy.
It's like an art gallery, you know.
Yeah.
It's an art gallery, and the more people go through, the happier you are. It really doesn't come down to the dollars. Obviously, you have to make money to keep the doors open.
Right.
But it really comes down to, you know, when you see and I think all of us can attest to this, when you finish your event or your show and you stand at the end of that show and you watch these people coming out talking about how amazing it was, you know, girls, boys, you know, adults, you know, running out going, oh my gosh, that was a scary. I mean, that is the pinnacle of your season right there, is just seeing grown men crying and cowering in the corner. Like it's amazing. And I think we've all done it.
Yep.
It's just awesome. And that's the reason why I've done it for so long. I mean, it's great to make money, but it's even better to show off your artistic talent and be able to show it to a bunch of people that, you know, can appreciate it and get scared at the same time. I mean, that's really good.
Well, Jan, do you ever act in your show?
That's a good question.
You know, I don't anymore. I did in the home hunt, and I did a lot of cue acting. because it got so big so fast for the home hunt, that I remember standing in the backyard where the scary stuff was.
Mm-hmm.
The front yard was little kids, the backyard was scary stuff.
Oh.
And I saw the line, completely down the street, and I thought, something instinctive in me said, you got to go entertain those people right now.
Yeah.
And so I just ran out there, and I'm like, I did like a creepy bad witch stuff. And I'm not afraid to get really close to people, and since I'm a female, I can.
Mm-hmm.
I'm probably not going to be arrested. And so I would just go up and down the line, and I'm sniffing them and all this stuff, and I loved that. That was fun.
Mm-hmm.
But when we got to Gray House, to the commercial hunt, I realized really quickly that I could not do this. This is how I describe what I do, because I am a sole owner and operator. I am the director of 26 one-act plays that happen simultaneously.
Mm-hmm.
That's a good way to put it.
Yes, it is.
And so I could not possibly be tied down to one spot.
Yeah.
I can't even be in costume because, pretty much I'm dressed like this, but probably warmer,
Mm-hmm.
and with like a slouch hat on, so you can't see my hair.
Right.
But I'm getting stuck on stuff all the time because I'm winding in and out of. I call them hidey holes.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know what you got, but I'm hiding. I'm listening. I might be 12 inches from the customers. They don't know it. They
Mm-hmm.
might now if they listen to this. But,
You gave away your secret. Oh no.
But yeah, I realized I could not do it. And my brother told me one year, he said, I just realized you don't get to have fun anymore. I said, oh, but you're wrong.
Yeah.
This is my playhouse.
Mm-hmm.
I get to have fun for a month before anybody else shows up.
Yeah.
True.
So it's not just a one night or 6 nights or 10 nights for me. It's months, that I get to play.
So Jan, I have a question, and it's based off of the acting. You said you don't act anymore. Given the location and the fact that you are not in a large community, how do you find, and you're largely actor based, how do you find your actors for the seasons? And do you have a high turnaround? And if so, how do you combat that?
Most of the yard hunt actors came with me. Because I think the last year that we did the yard hunt, I think I had 26 actors, and I think about 20 of them came with me. So I had a really good foundation. Most of them are gone, because they graduated or they got married or, they moved away. But I just advertised, I put it out on Facebook. And now, of course, I use the job listing on Facebook. And, I only lose probably out of a staff of about 33 to 35, depends on the year. I maybe lose 3 or 4 a year.
Wow.
But it's almost always they moved away.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That's awesome.
Or they got a job where they could no longer do it.
Oh yeah.
They work nights now or whatever. So retention hasn't been such a problem. I always anticipate I have to replace 5 or 6, but it's usually a little less than that. But I kind of like to overestimate than underestimate.
Mm-hmm.
We are kind of the only show around.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say. If you can chalk it up to being like a small town, where if you go to like a place like even Omaha, or you go to some of the bigger towns in any state, that you're gonna have maybe more friends, more distractions from what you could do in October, where maybe out where you live there's not that much to do. So this is a perfect outlet,
Mm-hmm. And people out here, we're so used to having to drive for entertainment.
Right.
And I think a lot of the actors, I pay them.
Yeah.
They're not volunteers. I pay them.
Mm-hmm.
but they see it as entertainment. It's just they're on the other side of the curtain, you know.
Right.
And so that I think right now I have 4 actors that live in this town. The rest of them all live within about 30 or 40 minutes. And they drive in on the nights we're open and for meetings and whatnot. But retention hasn't been that hard, partly because, we don't have a lot of distraction here. But I think partly, too, and I think we did touch on this a little bit in the book, is you have to, I function this way. I try to learn what somebody's language is. You know, they talk about love languages for couples, right?
Yes.
Well,
Yes.
we all have a love language, and it's not just romantic.
Right.
Correct.
You know, I had a young woman who started with us, and she actually did a nice job. But man, she was prickly. You know, like in the makeup room, she was prickly, and I'm kind of not. You know, I like to just, you know, kind of tease people and have fun, and I laugh pretty easy. And so she just kind of, you know. Well, one day, the young man that normally brought me my food because I would have them get me the best sandwiches and then hide them for me because I always eat last.
Yep.
He couldn't do it, so he said, "Hey, you know, Beth, not her name. You know, would you take Jan her sandwich?" And she said, "Sure." And she brought it to me and set it down beside me. And I turned and I looked at her and I said, "Oh, well, thanks, baby." And she said, "Oh, you're welcome." And she was so sweet after that. And she just wanted love. And after that, she was the best actor. She would do anything I asked her to do. And it wasn't manipulative. It was just my response to her.
Yeah.
But, you know, you figure out what they need and give it to them in a genuine manner, not a game playing manner. They will probably come back. Most of them aren't motivated by money.
No. I think it's a superpower that women have. I'm going to touch on that women thing again, to kind of adapt to different people, because I find myself doing that as well. And I'm not saying guys can't do it, but I'm definitely better at that than my husband, because if I will come to him and say, you know, Juliana's having an issue, he's like, who the hell is that? You know what I mean? And I'm like, oh my God. You know what I mean? So I think it has to do with, I think it's a woman thing. I really do. I mean, I'm going to say that it is, but yeah, it's definitely like a superpower that we have to kind of nurture these people, whether they're older than us or younger than us. Most of mine are younger. But I agree. I completely agree. You just need to find their thing that, and it's simple, just like you just explained. It's something very simple usually.
I found owning haunted houses and managing haunted houses, and even the home haunt that I did, that it comes down to the family aspect of the show, and finding whether you mother them, you father them, you know, you treat them like a brother or a sister or just a best friend. Those people are looking for relationships, and if you're good at building those relationships and you can understand those people and where they're coming from, you're going to have lifelong haunt family. I mean, we've never called any of our people that have worked for me or with me staff. It's always family. It's always family.
And we don't call them booze. Sorry, that's a pet peeve.
No,
that is a pet peeve.
No,
I don't like that. If you know where I'm going with that, then you know where I'm going. Hate it. Not a fan.
Well, that's where the term haunt mom came from. I mean, is because you know there is always that mother figure in every haunt, every home haunt. It doesn't matter, even if it's run by a guy, and there's somewhere in there there is a woman that's really behind it and really making that show click. to be honest, there is a woman somewhere.
I've never been to a show where there isn't somebody that everybody knows is the haunt mother.
Yep.
And everybody knows that they're going to get fed at the end of the night.
Right.
Right.
And everybody's worried if she's not there that night. So
yeah.
And, you know, I think too, I know, like, I think it was our second year. we had a little bit of a run-in. Some people didn't like that they paid us to scare their child, and then we scared their child, and they got really mad at us.
I hate when that happens.
Oh, yeah.
Awful.
Yeah.
How dare us?
Oh my gosh.
How dare I meet your expectations?
All right.
Shameful.
But the parents were really going off about this. What they didn't realize was that another teenage kid, and they were basically threatening to kick his ass and all this stuff. And so I walked right up to them, right in the front yard, right in front of the queue and everything, and informed them that they had a problem. They need to speak to me. They were not speaking to my actor. And so then my queue actors, they spread it around, you know, you should have heard Jan. She was ripping this guy's ass. And I think what happened was that was just my nature. That I will go into the fire for you, you know. But what they saw was someone that would stand up for them.
Right.
You know, that not only would be willing to lead for them, but that would stand up for them. And I think that is so important to let people know, I have you, you know, I have your back. I will be right there with you. And at least it worked with my cat.
Yeah, it's definitely something that every haunt that's successful has that family factor. You can't build an attraction without it. And if you do, you're going to have and I've been part of shows like that. There's high turnover and the scares are very generic and nobody really cares about anybody else but themselves. And it's usually a very detached, it's not a haunt home. It's just a haunted house. You know what I mean? You can tell when you go into a haunt, you're like, ooh, either these guys are getting paid too much or nobody likes each other. You know, you can just tell. You can just tell. Which going to a bunch of them. So I really do love the fact that everybody here understands the family factor of that. It's really good.
Absolutely.
Let's switch gears a little bit because we're running up on the end of this. Jan, I wanted to talk to you a little bit about your thought process in building your haunted house. You said I'm sure you started in November, but are you the only one that designs and builds, or do you have a team? And if you do, how do you manage that?
I actually have lost my team. Yeah, I had 2 years ago. I had 4 assistants, and I officially have 0 right now. Last year, my niece and I did the building all ourselves, which was actually kind of amazing because it was the last year she lived around here, and now she moved 4 hours away, which isn't so far, but she can't help me at Gray House now.
Right.
Yeah.
So I'm actually kind of on my own right now, a little bit. So I'm trying to train up a couple people. My sister will help me like 1 day a week. So it's going to be a interesting build season for me. We did 90% of it last year.
Do you devote, how many days a week do you devote to physically being at Gray House?
I usually am physically there right after Memorial Weekend because it's too cold. Otherwise, it's not climate controlled. But when I had assistants, I was there at least 20 hours a week. And then, of course, at home, I'm working on it probably as much, if not more. But yeah, 20 to 30 hours a week is when I'm down there. So.
That's a lot. I mean,
but I don't change my show completely every year. I've heard of people do that. I think they're insane.
Yeah, I was one of those people. I thought it was a great idea.
Oh my God!
I'll never do it again.
We don't change the whole thing. We change like 30 to 40% every year. We just switch things around.
Yeah, that's what I do.
Not everything.
Yeah, I always tell people 20%, and then I'm like, I guess it's more like 40%.
Yeah.
but I'm always trying to change things. It took 3 years to completely build out, and now I change anywhere from 20 to 40% a year. But yeah, I'm largely on my own right now. So, anybody in the Holders, Nebraska area, hit me up.
I was just out there too a few weeks ago for my daughter's in club volleyball, and we had a tournament in Omaha. And
oh, did you?
Yeah, I actually reached out. I was like, anybody out here that owns a haunt in the area? And of course, there were some, that jumped out there. But it's like, not that I would have been able to go. I mean, if you're 2 hours from Omaha, 2.5 hours from Omaha, it would have been 2 hour drive. But still, I love Omaha. Omaha's awesome. It's cheap.
Omaha's a fun town.
It's cheap, cheap food, and there's a whole bunch of variety. And oh man, steak is so good. So, well, Jan, we're going to wrap this one up. I'm hoping Troy comes back on here. We lost him. Where he went. There he is.
People keep telling me they're going to get ice cream or something, and so I'm getting, I'm getting the door open.
He's got his shoes on. He's ready to go.
I'm not going to do the dishes.
So we're going to wrap this up. But Jan, let's just do a quick rundown. You got a haunt. Can you just throw out the name of the haunt and just do a quick plug on that, and then quick plug on your book so we know when and where we can find that so we can support you in your endeavors?
Yeah. It's Gray House Haunts in Holdridge, Nebraska, and it's grayhousehaunts.com if you want to check out some pictures and that kind of thing. And then the book will be out in mid-May, and it's called Not Afraid to Slay, Women of the Haunt Industry.
Awesome.
I'm pretty excited about it.
Yeah.
I'll buy it. I'm buying it.
Super excited about this. So, all right. Well, I appreciate it. Thank you so much for coming on. And then you guys, everybody have a great night, and we'll see everybody.
Thank you guys so much.
Thanks, Jan.
Good night.